Some echo is there, seems.
It's like a bird call.
Now we are live.
Right. True.
Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, and Organ Donation India Foundation. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And as you know that today, being Wednesday, we are running a series called Democratic Reform Series, under which today our topic is administrative reforms in India. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today India is celebrating National Vaccine Day. In India, National Vaccine Day is celebrated every year on March 16th. The day is widely known as National Immunization Day. The National Vaccination Day was first observed on March 16, 1995. On this day, the first dose of oral polio vaccine was given in India. The initiative to eradicate polio from India started with the Pulse Polio campaign that was launched by the government. The importance of the vaccination in today's world cannot be overstated. Vaccines are the most effective way to prevent fatal and dangerous disease known to man. Extensive vaccination campaigns across the world have resulted in the eradication of highly infectious and dangerous diseases like smallpox, measles, tetanus from the major parts of the world. According to the World Health Organization, vaccination saves between 2 to 3 million lives per year. Now that COVID is here, the government is taking steps to ensure that the vaccines for COVID-19 reach the people who need them. And India has started vaccinating children aged 12 to 14 from today as it expands its COVID-19 vaccination coverage. And also starting today, the condition of comorbidity for people aged 60 and above to get a precautionary dose has also been removed. And now everyone above the age of 60 can take booster shots. Media conference with Lal Goel wish that everyone who are eligible for COVID-19 vaccination come forward and take vaccine to save lives from this pandemic. Now coming to our main topic, administrative reforms in India. Since independence, there have been about 50 commissions and committees at the union government level to look into what can be broadly characterized as administrative reforms. The first Administrative Reforms Commission, set up in January 1966, was asked to, in particular, to consider all aspects relating to the following subjects. And the subjects were the machinery of the government of India and its procedure of work, the machinery for planning of at all levels, center-state relationship, financial administration, personal administration, economic administration, administration at the state level, district administration, agricultural administration, and problems of redress of citizens' grievances. The Administrative Reforms Commission, ARC, is the committee appointed by the Government of India for giving recommendations for reviewing the public administration system of India. The Administrative Reform Commission was initially chaired by Shri Morarji Desai, and later on Mr. K. Hanumantaiah became its chairman when Mr. Desai became the Deputy Prime Minister of India. The commission submitted 20 reports in all. These 20 reports contained 537 major recommendations. Based on the inputs received from various administrative ministries, a report indicating the implementation position was placed in Parliament in November 1977. The second Administrative Reform Commission, ARC, was constituted on 31st August 2005 as a commission of inquiry under the chairmanship of Mr. Veerappa Moily for preparing a detailed blueprint for revamping the public administrative system. Now, to discuss this very, very important topic today, the administrative reforms in India, we have a very elite, knowledgeable, those who are fully knowing the topic, and those who are in this field and in the administration field, as well as one of our panelists who is a director and a professor in a management institute. So we would like to bring and start our program with, I will like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Dr. Naveen Gupta. Dr. Naveen Gupta is the director of Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Studies, HIMCS, Sharda Group of Institutions, Mathura. Dr. Naveen Gupta is a leading behavioral scientist, trainer, management consultant, and therapist. He studied at the IIT Roorkee and has 34 years plus years of academic experience in teaching and research. He has visited a number of countries like USA, China, Hong Kong, Dubai, Oman, Sharjah, Nepal, Macau, Sri Lanka, etc., for training and academic assignments. He has worked as the top academic and administrative leaders, including as director of several business schools and as a director general with Advent Institute of Management, Udaipur, Rajasthan. He is also a founder of Soldiers of Society, SOS, in Agra and Mathura, for making difference for the life and livelihood of the auto workers and other poor sections, and enhances the experiences and memories of the national and international tourists to the city of Taj. Welcome, Dr. Naveen Gupta, on our show. Dr. Naveen Gupta, apart from you are a director of a very reputed management institute, apart from that you are a behavioral scientist, you are also a citizen of this country. And you know what are the problems which a common citizen faces almost many times in 1 year or every month. Due to the administrative problems, due to the hassles, due to the problems to reach to the administration or getting any work done today. So we would like to know from you, your views from both the angles, as a management guru, as well as a common citizen, about the administrative reforms in India. Dr. Naveen Gupta, please.
Thank you very much, Lal Goel, sir, for such a lovely welcome, such a lovely introduction. And as you said, apart academician, I have keen interest in social politics, not in direct politics. Want to see as there must be a role of a teacher wherever you are, create a difference. If you cannot create a difference, I think the role of teacher is not justified. As a citizen, you said very well, सुनता रहता हूँ, देखता रहता हूँ, आँख खुली रहती है, options नजर नहीं आते हैं, but I keep on doing. So for example, I have shared number of times also about my project which I have initiated. This was the job of the bureaucracy and administration. I belong to a city of Taj, and Sandeep ji is also having deep roots in the Agra. So we used to listen comments all the time from the commissioner and all that. Agra mein lapka bahut hai, lapka bahut hai. I thought as a teacher, why I cannot start doing something? When we talk in the classroom about the cultural change, can we change the culture of our city also? I start classes. I will not share the whole experience, which if you allow, I can talk later on. But then immediately, this was in the knowledge of the Mr. Pradeep Bhattagar, commissioner of the city. He called me, I want to meet you. I'm just sharing my personal experience. You are doing good job. What is your expectation from me? Sir, why should I expect from you? This is your role. When you give a statement, hair mein lapka bahut hai, so I think आपको थोड़ा सा आपके पास तो you have everything power.
Dr. Gupta, I've just stopped you here. Can you just explain lapka, because our viewers might not be knowing what is lapka you are saying.
Lapka, as you know, Agra Shahar is known famous because of Taj Mahal, but infamous of the lapka culture. Lapka, they are the touts. ठीक है, जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स होते हैं, इंक्लूडिंग ऑटो ड्राइवर्स, टैक्सी ड्राइवर, टैक्स और बहुत सारा. इससे क्या है कि द इकोनॉमी ऑफ द आगरा एंड द इंडिया इज बैडली अफेक्टेड, एंड बिकॉज दे आर द सिटी एम्बेसडर, स्पेशली ऑटो ड्राइवर्स, so they carry a very bad image. When I was in Dubai, I keep on listening, and आप ताज से हो, लेकिन वहाँ बहुत सारे, there is a good statistics available. Sandeep ji can support me, because he has been involved in the tourism ministry also. बहुत सारे टूरिस्ट वो आते हैं और बिना ताजमहल देख के बिकॉज ऑफ देयर इल बिहेवियर, इनडिसेंट बिहेवियर, लौट के चले जाते हैं. तो एज ए इंडियन, as a citizen of the Agra, that affects me. And I teach in a classroom. Cultural change. I'm a consultant with number of industries. Cultural change पे मैंने let me try there also. तो मैंने को जो प्रदीप भटनागर जी is a good man, तो उन्होंने कहा कि but मैंने कहा सर I am a teacher, let me do my work. मेरे पास कलम है, मैं कलम की बात करता हूँ, आपके पास डंडा है, देखते हैं. और कहने करने we have got a project of the World Bank also here. मैंने सर I don't need any money. मनी आ गया तो दिमाग में, तो फिर मेरा हो सकता है कि जो मिशन है वो थोड़ा डाइवर्टेड भी हो जाए. कहने ओके, कहने का बट ये आपका शहर है, मैं वहां से आर्गुमेंट तो करने गया नहीं था. तो मैंने कहा हाँ दैट आई एग्री. तो इमीडिएटली ही टेलीफोन टू डीएम एंड जितने भी आईपीएस ऑफिसर्स थे उनको, कहने का डॉक्टर नवीन गुप्ता इज डूइंग गुड वर्क, प्लीज सपोर्ट हिम. व्हाट आई वांट टू से हियर, it is not reform required only in administration. We require reform in every walk of life, because I do believe in a fundamental management. When you blame someone, तो मेरे को वही दिखाई देता है कि जब आप उंगली उठाते हैं तो दूसरा आदमी तो 25% जिम्मेदार है. 3 fingers are towards me. तो 75% perhaps I am responsible for each and everything. Maybe a corruptions, maybe whatever the issue, restlessness in the society, harmony in the society. तो मुझे 75% पे काम करना है. बाकी जो अंगूठा है तो ठीक है, हम लोग फिलोसफिकली बहुत ज्यादा करते ही हैं. तो वी ऑल बिलीव इन अ गॉड, दैट मे बी माय काइंड ऑफ ए स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट. तो हमें सबसे पहले सर, लाल सर, बात करना पड़ेगा नेशनल कैरेक्टर बिल्डिंग पे. तो दे आर आल्सो, ये ठीक है, administrative officers है, bureaucrats है, they are also part of the society. Now look at the role of the education as an educationist. हमारा जो youth का dreams है, the dreams are built on three factors. PMG model base है, power, money and glamour. You ask any youth, I remember when I must be of the age of the Sandeep ji and Pritam Singh. तो when I joined JNU for a year with that, मैं नहीं चाहता था IAS बनना, लेकिन parents wants me, कहने you should try for civil services. Believe me, मैं झूठ बोलता रहा घर से, मैंने कभी सिविल सर्विसेज की तैयारी की नहीं थी. वहाँ पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा में फंस गया, तो इसलिए वहां से छोड़ के मुझे IIT रुड़की भागना पड़ा, है ना. लेफ्टिस्ट की तरफ थोड़ा सा रुझान हो गया था मेरे को. फ्री थिंकर्स हमने एक सोसाइटी वहां शुरू करी थी. तो जो यूथ का जो हमारा है, तो टीचर्स have no value here in India. That may be colonial hangover. Forget about it. अभी तो हमारी चीज है. When I have a good friendship with Manish Sisodiya ji. So in a very informal chat, Delhi Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister, we had a very good discussion. He came to me कि नवीन मैं schools पे थोड़ा सा उनके साथ काम कर रहा हूँ, Delhi schools पर, बहुत थोड़ा सा, not very significant, है ना. तो मेरे को जब उनसे बात किया कि हमने, उसने बहुत अच्छी मेरे को बात कही, कहने का नवीन जी, इफ वी थिंक पॉलिटिशियन चेंज हो जाए एवरीथिंग विल बी चेंज, नो. इफ यू थिंक ब्यूरोक्रेट्स आर चेंज एवरीथिंग विल बी चेंज, नो. मीडिया, पुलिस वाले, कहने कुछ भी नहीं, ओनली वी नीड अ चेंज इन द एजुकेशन सिस्टम. व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द पीएमजी मॉडल, पावर, मनी एंड ग्लैमर, आपको, you will be surprised to know a young IAS officer who got the highest marks in ethics and values during his exam training का लाल बहादुर शास्त्री एकेडमी में. He was known as the most corrupt person. So what is the role of the education that we need to understand? Now अब हम बात कर रहे हैं, लाल सर, आपने टॉपिक जो आज कर लिया, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स. तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स के, तो इफ यू टॉक अबाउट टेक्निकली फेयल प्रिंसिपल्स एंड ऑल दैट, ब्यूरोक्रेसी, वो सबको मुझे बात नहीं करनी, बिकॉज योर ऑडियंस में बी बोर, कहने के इट इज नॉट अ क्लास ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट. पर आप देखें कि पॉलिटिकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स में कहां से हम शिफ्ट हो गए. वी डोंट टॉक अबाउट द लीडरशिप, वी टॉक अबाउट ब्यूरोक्रेसी. अब क्या करते हैं कि जब हम पढ़ाते हैं एमबीए के स्टूडेंट्स में भी कि व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ ए मैनेजर. If I take example, the district magistrate of a city, he is just like a CEO. बट क्या वो सीईओ की तरह से काम करता है? वट एवर द लिमिटेशन, सर मैं ब्लेम बिल्कुल भी नहीं करना चाहता हूँ, हम भी जिम्मेदार हैं कहीं ना कहीं, बट वी वांट टू सी लाइक यू, जो आपने एक एजेंडा लिया है कि एक डेवलप कंट्री देखना चाहते हैं, एक खुशहाल कंट्री देखना चाहते हैं, तो हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी बन जाती है। उसमें ब्यूरोक्रेसी का रोल, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर्स का रोल इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कि क्या प्लान, उसमें कि 5 रोल बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं: प्लानिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, लीडिंग, कंट्रोलिंग एंड अचीविंग। प्लानिंग छोड़ दीजिएगा, नो टाइम फॉर प्लानिंग बिकॉज वी वर्क ऑन फायर फाइटिंग, वी वांट टू प्लीज आवर पॉलिटिकल बॉसेस। आज ये हो गया वो कर लीजिएगा, आज ये हो गया वो कर लीजिएगा। दूसरा ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग तो माय गॉड वो एक सिस्टम चला रहा है, डीएम एसडीएम नीचे, फिर उसके नीचे, फिर नीचे, तो दिस नो कहीं बैठ के हम लोग प्लानिंग ऑर्गेनाइजिंग के लिए टाइम ही नहीं है। द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट जो हम लीडरशिप की बात करते हैं, इफ आर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर्स कैन अडॉप्ट द लीड रोल ऑफ अ लीडर, they are very well exposed, ट्रेनिंग भी दिया जाता है, लेकिन पता नहीं क्या ऐसी, which we would like to listen from other panelists, कि ऐसी क्या मजबूरी होती है कि वो कर ही नहीं पाते हैं उस तरह के काम को लिए। तो लीडरशिप में हम बात करते हैं, जब हम जौहरी विंडो पढ़ाते हैं, फीडबैक, डू यू टेक ए फीडबैक? Our officers are never believe in feedback system. They want to listen the feedback only from political bosses. If they can please them, the feedback is good. They are surrounded by these sycophants. तो जो फीडबैक सिस्टम है ना, दो दैट स्टोरी आई रिमेंबर वेरी वेल, कि आपका कैन यू हियर द अनहर्ड, लीडरशिप में अगर देख सके, कहने का देर, आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर अ वेरी स्मॉल स्टोरी। कहने का एक राजा ने एक टीचर के पास भेजा कि भाई सक्सेशन प्लानिंग के लिए, तो आई वांट देम, यू कैन टीच देम, यू कैन ट्रेन देम। उस टीचर ने कहा, कहने का ऐसा करो कि बच्चों को 1 साल के लिए जंगल में भेज दिया। वो जंगल में भेज दिया तो उससे पूछा कि व्हाट वाज योर लर्निंग। तो जब वो लौट के आए तो कहना, हाँ सर हमने शेर की आवाज सुनी, भेड़े की आवाज सुनी, लॉयन की आवाज सुनी, तरह तरह के एनिमल्स की। उसने कहा नो, योर टीचिंग इज नॉट स्टिल कंप्लीटेड, यू गो बैक अगेन। तो बड़ा फ्रस्ट्रेट हुए, लेकिन उनको दे वर फोर्स्ड टू गो बैक अगेन। फिर दोबारा 1 साल होने के बाद जब वो लौट के आए, कहने का व्हाट यू कुड सी, तो ना कहा नाउ आई कुड लिसन, कि भोरे की आवाज को सुन पाया मैं, फूल कैसे खिलते हैं सुन पाया हूं, चिड़िया कैसे महकती है वो सुन पाया हूं, सुबह कैसे होती है देख पाया हूं। तो देन उसने कहा कि नाउ योर एजुकेशन इज कंप्लीटेड, नाउ यू आर फिट फॉर दैट। हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस believe in a feedback system? We are only surrounded by the sycophant. This is the problem. कहां से शुरुआत करेंगे, कहां से चेंज ला सकते? मैं आई एम नॉट ए अथॉरिटी, बट आई एम जस्ट शेयरिंग एज ए लेमैन। दूसरा, किंग्स न्यू क्लोथ्स, हाउ दे आर surrounded by the sycophant. As you know, a king was tricked into believing that he was wearing beautiful clothes while he was nude. All sycophanted, complicated, oh wonderful dress sir you are wearing, आप कैसा काम करते हैं, बहुत बढ़िया, आपका तो चारों तरफ जलवे हैं, beautiful dress. Finally only a very innocent boy said, oh king is nude. That is the philosophy of the feedback mechanism. How many of them they believe in feedback mechanism? Akbar was known as a very good administrator because he was very good in taking the feedback. We all remember कैसे वो करता था, रात को ड्रेस चेंज करके लोगों से मिलता था, उनसे कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन, फोकस ग्रुप डिस्कशन करता था एज ए लेमैन कि अभी चल क्या रहा। हाउ मेनी ऑफ डीएम, अक्सर इक्का दुक्का खबर आती रहती है, रिसेंटली हम न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ते रहते हैं, एसएसपी साइकिल से चला गया, उसने वो ऑटो ड्राइवर से बात किया, है ना। एक बहुत कम मिलते हैं डीएम है, आज वो बिल्कुल एकदम घूमने चला गया, वहां जाके उन्होंने वेंडर से बात किया, सब्जी वालों से बात किया, ऑटो ड्राइवर से बात किया, इक्का दुक्का एग्जाम्पल्स हैं। बट व्हाई नॉट दी होल, पूरा का पूरा 80% क्यों नहीं इस तरह के काम करते कि दे बिलीव इन फीडबैक सिस्टम? The another problem, इनको भी problem है, I can understand. I wrote a mail of Mr. Amitabh Thakur, who was an IPS officer. So when he was doing his MBA from IIM Lucknow, तो उसने ये लिखा, तो एक OB का ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल बिहेवियर का टीचर आता है क्लास में, तो क्लास कैसे लेता है, तो ही स्टार्ट शेयरिंग ए स्टोरी, कहने के एक अंकल जी एक घर में आते हैं, एंड ही आस्क बच्चे से कि चिंटू हाउ मेनी मार्क्स यू हैव, कहने सर आई हैव गॉट 98%, वेल डन वेल डन, कहने देन हाउ मेनी पिलर्स आर इन योर स्कूल, कहने सर आई डोंट नो, तो इधर ही गॉट ए कमेंट, कहने का कि देन कैसे आप पढ़ाई करते हो जब तुम्हें सराउंडिंग का नहीं पता, तो कैसे स्टूडेंट हो, तो देन ही मेक श्योर कि देन आई वुड लाइक टू इम्प्रेस माय अंकल, तो उसने नेक्स्ट डे जाके क्लास बंक किया और पूरे काउंट किए पिलर्स काउंट करने के बाद वो आया एंड ही वाज वेटिंग फॉर द अंकल, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम फिर दोबारा से जब अंकल आए तो अंकल ने पूछा हाँ बेटे स्टडी कैसे चल रही है, कितने मार्क्स आए इस मंथ में इस टेस्ट में आपके, कहने के जी आई गॉट लिटिल बिट लेस 96%, कहने 96%, चलो कोई बात नहीं, हाउ मेनी पिलर्स, कहने जी 98 पिलर्स, तो देन ही गॉट ए कमेंट फ्रॉम द अंकल कि पूरा दिन अगर तू पिलर्स ही काउंट करता रहेगा तो पढ़ाई कब करेगा, then the child was confused कि what is my KPA, की performance areas क्या है, so there is a lot of role confusion perhaps in the mind of the bureaucrats, administrative officers also, तो वो थोड़ा सा मुझे आप लोगों से ही सुनना होगा। एक इसमें पीएम ने भी एक बार कमेंट किया था, कहने का ब्यूरोक्रेसी हमारी कैसी होगी, दे हैव बिकम द एजेंट of the exploitation rather than the service provider. This is the perception of the people. हमें कैसे चेंज करना होगा, ये हमें बात करनी होगी। करप्शन तो इतना जबरदस्त हो गया, has become low risk and high rewarding activity. The another problem, if I talk from their side, administrative say frequent and arbitrary transfer affects the morale of the officers. नाम हम नहीं लेना चाहते, मे बी कंट्रोवर्शियल, खेमका साहब was known as a very honest officer, but how much trouble he could face. Then political executive must first, उनको भी तैयारी करना पड़ेगा, कितने एफर्ट्स कर सकते हैं, political executive must first critically review its own performance before expecting discipline from the administrative officers. Why they cannot think out of the box? हम MBA के स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ाते हैं कि भाई थिंक आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स। मैं एक डायरेक्टर हूं छोटे से कॉलेज का, अगर वहां कहीं लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की प्रॉब्लम होती है तो परहैप्स मुझे आंख मिलाने में शर्म आती है, पर हमारे जितने भी विद ड्यू रिगार्ड्स IAS ऑफिसर्स हैं, PCS ऑफिसर्स हैं एंड अदर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर्स, perhaps I don't know, do they have any law and order की प्रॉब्लम हो, गंदगी है, सड़कों पे ट्रैफिक प्रॉब्लम है, टूटा पड़ा है, तो कोई इनको गिल्ट इस तरीके का होता है कि वो नहीं होता है, that I don't know. I still remember बहुत कुछ लोग कम हैं हिस्ट्री में, but yes, if we can, if the number is increased, so there's a very good case of the SR Sankaran who died in October 2010, then IAS officer, जितना पैसा था उसके पास उसने बैकवर्ड कम्युनिटी को वेलफेयर में खर्च किया, when he died, तो इतना जबरदस्त ह्यूज क्राउड उसके पीछे था, and then बीच में एक सीरीज चली थी टॉप 3 करप्ट ऑफिसर, without naming, we all know नीरा यादव, प्रदीप मिश्रा, so many names, तो वो उनके रोल मॉडल क्या है, वो कैसे इस तरीके के काम कर रहे हैं, तो these are the few pains where we have to work, and I think they have their own problems also which we would like to listen from them. Thank you very much. I will join later.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naveen Gupta, for giving your views as a citizen, as an educator. And what Dr. Naveen Gupta says, that the administration or the IAS or all those who are in the power should think out of the box, which is required today. And he says that there are lots of corruption in the administration. and that's why the citizens are facing heat. There are many good officers, no doubt about it, but they are very not that much number, and there are corrupt officers also. So how the reforms can take place, what are the changes required, and how we can do it, definitely would like to know in the next round from Dr. Gupta, because right now he has narrated what are the problems, but what are the solutions, how we can go over that. That when we will come in the next round, definitely I am going to ask the questions, and in his reply, he will be able to clarify those things. Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for giving views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he's Mr. Pritam Singh, IAS. Mr. Pritam Singh, IAS, is the former Secretary to Government of India. He is B, Electronics and Telecommunication from Punjabi Engineering College, which he did in 1982. He is postgraduate in Economics, Certificate of Advanced Study in Public Administration from Maxwell School, Syracuse University. He retired as Secretary to the Government of India in April 2020. Before that, he served as a Special Secretary and Director General, National Archives of India. From March 2015 to December 2017, served as Additional Secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs as Director of Serious Frauds Investigation Office and DG, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. He served at various positions in the government of Rajasthan. Welcome, Mr. Pritam Singh, IAS, on our show. Mr. Pritam Singh, you have heard what Dr. Gupta has mentioned. Although he has mentioned about those things which the people are facing, but there are lots of issues, lots of issues. But that is from the other side. When you are sitting on the other side and as an IAS officer, as an administrator, you are seeing many things because you have to handle the politicians, the ruling dispense, as well as you have to handle all those who are looking towards you for the good administration. Now, we would like to know from you your views on administrative reforms in India. Mr. Pritam Singh, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal. I find it very interesting to be in this discussion today. And administrative reforms have been the core agenda of all the governments right from the beginning. If we assess what has happened to the administrative reforms over the years, I would sum it up as it's a balance of many successes and certain shortcomings, or certain, we can say, failures. Like in the second Administrative Reforms Commission had recommended that the budget should also view to other things, that is output, quantifiable output and quantifiable outcome. Now, in this itself, the administrative reforms which we have carried out, or which we have tried to carry out, we have to view whether we have, as per the planning, as per the budget of the administrative reforms or the long-term planning of the reforms, have we achieved that output and have we achieved that outcome? I'll first of all take one example of the administrative reforms which we carried out after 2005, that is after the second Reforms Commission report came. That was the RTI, that is to bring in transparency in the working of the government. RTI gives a handle to any person, any individual, to get information, except for certain, exceptions like security of the nation and things like that, or very personal information of some individual. But all citizens have the right to access information or the working of the government, and in a particular matter, what has happened. That is one. Now we have to see whether the output is, planning was to bring transparency. Output was, first step was RTI, without accepting a few restrictions. It was blanket open that you can seek any information. So this was the output. Now we have to see the outcome. Over the years, it's in a brief history of RTI, there have been many RTI workers, RTI, what we call them,
Activist.
activists, yeah. They have been bringing out successfully also secrets which were unnecessarily suppressed from the people, the knowledge which should have been shared with the people. But at the same time, over the years, we have seen in the brief history of RTI that more and more restrictions have started coming in by certain excuses, exceptions have been, overextended. They have been over-interpreted as if these are exceptions. Then there have been certain, assaults and attacks, or maybe this thing over individual RTI activists also. So this is the outcome where we have reached. Plus, but at the same time, this is a very powerful tool. For example, all the newspapers nowadays, like Indian Express and the Hindu, which are responsible newspapers, sometimes they, to authenticate their news, to bring it to the public knowledge, they first of all, they seek from the government of India and other state governments application, RTI, through RTI application, the information, then they put the news in the newspaper. So this tool, the state authorities or maybe certain fringe elements, they can suppress the individuals from seeking information by threat or by other means, but they cannot overawe the established, say, newspaper houses, other media houses, things like that. So this is one thing. Other important thing, which of course it was excluded from the Administrative Reforms Commission mandate, is education, which Mr. Naveen Gupta emphasized, that education is the tool to transform our society towards more responsive government, towards more transparent government, and empowerment of the people. RTE was brought in. That is also very recent phenomena when RTE came. At the same time, do we have outcome? Do we have the output? Yes, we opened a lot of schools. Certain states went ahead very ambitiously and rightly so to enroll the students. But then comes the question of the quality of the education. When the certain third-party surveys are done of the students of class 3rd, 4th, 5th standard, you will find that a high percentage of such students are not able to even read their own mother tongue or express in a formal way in their first language. So but I'll still say initiatives are good, well-intentioned, but we have resources as far as education is concerned, primary education and school education is concerned. We have resource constraints in spite of a lot of private players, which are also doing well, but they are charging a lot from the students. Poor people cannot have that access to that education. Still, there is desired results of the outcome, that is their empowerment of the student to be able to be able to be grouped as a educated child or educated youth. We are far short of that. And see the recent example. I do not understand one thing, what is stopping us from putting in more money in higher education and professional educations, in both medical, engineering, and business administration. Ukraine war has exposed that a lot of Indian students are going abroad, even in such countries whom we would not rate as advanced as we are. We are spending close to 4 lakh crore rupees a year as fee for the students going abroad for education every year. 4 lakh crores is a big amount. And states like Punjab, they are spending more than 30 to 40,000 crore a year as fee to for the education abroad. If 40,000 crore rupees was to be retained by a state like Punjab, or 3 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore, and this amount is going to increase. There is a report in the business standard that in 2024, this amount will go to $80 billion US dollars, which we'll be sending every year, spending every year on foreign education. So if that amount could be retained in India, if we could bring institutions of eminence in true sense, announcement is one thing, and bringing them on the ground is another thing. We $80 billion is a big amount which we should be able to, but still I have no answer why we are not able to do that. First thing is, I think we are students or bright students who go abroad, they do not have faith in the local institutions. Plus, there are more students than the actual seats that can be provided by institutions of eminence. So I was actually, this example of education I have taken up as an outcome failure, as here even output failure is there. Of course, planning is big. So we could tap this youth, our demographic advantage and dividend, we are wasting every day. And, most of our students and our youth, the boys are becoming delivery boys and girls are getting sales girls. They are not able to give their best to the country. I don't think our students, our youth, we are heading all the big business houses, technical houses, Microsoft, this and that, Google and everything. But we are not able to retain them in India and use them in India. The reason is the same. And it proves that we are not dumb. Our students, our youth is not dumb. They need an environment which somehow we are not able to generate, in spite of the fact that we are spending a lot of money on foreign education. We are spending a lot of money on other things. And this is the thing. So as far as administrative reforms as such is concerned, I think the purpose of any administrative reforms is that the administration keeps on evolving continuously to face the new challenges, but retaining its original fundamentals, that is objectivity, impartiality, efficiency, fearlessness, responsiveness to the public needs, rule of law, and accountability towards the political bosses. That is not bosses, actually political government of India, government of the state, not to a particular person or a particular political party. Maintain the rule of law, and of course be abreast with the latest and be sincere. All this requires, attitudinal this thing also. And then when self-interest comes in conflict with the public interest or his duty, then distortions occur, and we face the problems which often see as problems. Corruption is another problem because of the greed as well as the opportunity which we are giving. But I still see there is a silver lining, and there are many positive things which have happened. We have been able to eradicate many diseases, and we could overcome, in spite of all the criticism, overcome the second, third wave of corona, first wave of corona, second, third wave. And we can, disaster management as such, we have been very successfully able to handle. Response time has gone down. Our response has been very good because there is no opportunity to, be corrupt when you are doing disaster management. So we have to plug the opportunities of corruption. One way to do that is remove the human element, not humane element, remove the human handling face and introduce technology. And we have done very well in that. Railways, Sandeep is sitting here, my batchmate in railways. He will agree with me that railways was the first to know booking tickets with technology online, and a lot of corruption has now been almost entire corruption as far as booking a ticket is concerned or TT is concerned. Otherwise, I have faced when I lost my ticket, the TT, because I was in a, I was STM then, but I lost my ticket when my pocket got, and he escorted me from the gate outside, and he showed as if he had done a big favor to me. No, that is not happening. Now I don't need a ticket, physical ticket. My ticket is already with the government, with the railways. So that is the way a lot of things can happen. And we are doing that in, say, booking entire corona. You could book for your vaccine. You don't need to go and stand in the queues. And of course, maybe it is only to certain higher classes, and poor people don't have access to technology also. That's also another thing. But transparency is coming through technology, and all other fields like income tax return. You file the income tax return online and your refund comes within a few days. So these initiatives need to be continued. The street level corruption is still there in certain departments. Police, I'll admit, has not been able to, in spite of the best efforts, they have not been able to eradicate corruption totally. But let's hope with technology as well as with more accountability and people's awareness, which will come through education and this thing, we should be able to do that. At the same time, I find it very saddening that we have to give free rations to the people and in exchange tell them we are, you aapne hamara namak khaya, vote hame dena, things. And we are creating a constituency which is we are making dependent on government doles. We used to, certain quarters used to criticize Narega because they said this is just like which is true also. It's just like another dole, but at least they were doing something in return. Now giving free rations is, we have reduced them as to this thing because we are not able to give them employment. Employment is a, for example, unemployment is a problem which we are not ready to see. We are not ready to acknowledge. We are in continuous denial mode. But all these things are not in the hands of bureaucrats. I don't know why we come down to bureaucrats when it comes to administrative reforms, and we limit it only to class 1 officers and IAS officers. Actually, bureaucracy is the one who is dealing with the person, the patwari, the constable and the TT in the railways, who still is able to sell certain seats to the desperate last minute travelers. So these are the things we have to see, and maybe I'll respond later also.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pritam Singh, for giving your very, very forthright views. And Mr. Pritam Singh says, yes, there were lots of administrative reforms were done, and in which he has given the example of RTI, and he says how the RTI in a very short span done so much wonderful things by bringing out those unnecessary guarded secrets which were not supposed to be there, and let the people of the country should know. But he says then once the the RTI activists has started participating, they are bringing out, their work is to take out those things which the administration or the political leadership never wanted to be highlighted. But what he says that then the restriction is started, and lots of without giving the proper reason, they are not ready to disclose and the purpose of the RTI is in one way, according to Mr. Pritham, is defeated. Then he says the RTE has come, which is also very good, that right to education. But what is the quality of education, which he has also raised? That is a very, very important point. And in our media conference with Lal Goel, we are discussing this many times, because our main emphasis is education. As Mr. Dr. Naveen Gupta rightly said, if your education is not good, how you can reform anyone? But he says there are changes like railways. He has given the example of railways. Earlier, you have to stand in a queue, and then they say, no, sorry, your turn is over. Then you go, some touts will come and they will give the tickets. And he gave his own example how even if being a SDM, he lost the ticket, and how the TT has shown that he has obliged him like anything, which is not possible now because with the use of technology. So he says the technology is also is playing a very, very important role as far as the administrative reforms are concerned, because the transparency is now can be there because of the use of technology. So he says there are so many things. Corruption is there. It's at the grassroots level also, high level also, political things are there. He mentioned about Narega also, he mentioned. So many things. What he says, Mr. Pritam Singh says that lots of reforms are required. Why only limitized it to the IAS or IPS or only those? It has to be done from the all the angles, which is rightly, he's right that it should be from every angle. So thank you very much, Mr. Pritam Singh. In the next round, when I will ask, I will try to take more views from you. Thank you very much for giving your views. I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist with us. He is Mr. Sandeep Silas, IAS. Mr. Silas is the former civil servant, Government of India. He is a strategist, poet, author, and peace activist. A British Chevening scholar, he is a strategic management expert from Manchester Business School, Manchester, UK. He was awarded the degree of Master of Public Administration with distinction and honor from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs of Syracuse University, New York in 2008. His key competencies are expert on public administration, public information, formulation of policy, new legislation and capacity building, expert on systematic leadership, visionary and strategist, conflict resolution, reforms in public and private sector, planning for business growth, motivational speaker, creative writing. He has worked in various capacities in 8 ministries of the Government of India, like railways, statistics and program implementation, youth affairs and sports, overseas Indian affairs, tourism, culture, labor and employment, and road transport and highways. He pursues in the world his novel idea and concept now become his mission, the Garland of Peace, a project to declare all war ruins in the world as peace heritage sites, to take yet another step towards peace building, peace education, and peace tourism. He is author of 12 books of poetry in English and Hindi, Urdu, essays, short stories, and music. His lyrics were bought by Times Music India in an audio music album, Ibadat-e-Ishq, in 2012. He has over 375 articles published in national, international magazines and national newspapers, 2 solo photographic exhibitions which mounted in New Delhi, Orchids and Faces and Tranquil Moments in India, Habitat Center, New Delhi, were very well received and much appreciated by the art lovers and the civil society. He was richly awarded by government and civil society over his 36 years career as civil servant. He has also conferred the first ever Intercultural Leadership Award by British Council UK India in February 2015. Welcome, Mr. Sandeep Silas, on our show. Mr. Sandeep, you have heard what Dr. Naveen Gupta as well as what Mr. Pritam Singh has mentioned. Dr. Naveen Gupta insisting on education, being an educator. So he says if reforms are required, changes are required, education has to be reformed. Mr. Pritam Singh says that reforms are required, but he says the reforms are taking place. He gave the example of RTI. He also gave the example of RTE, although he's not satisfied with the quality of education. And he also mentioned about the railways, and which he has quoted you. He says that Mr. Sandeep knows well. So in railways also, he says that corruption has been eradicated, although he has also put one line in the end that is still the TTEs have that liberty to sail some of the berths at the last moment. So this is the way he has mentioned. Although I would like to just add one thing. I still remember I was in Germany and I have to board a train from Frankfurt, not Frankfurt, from one of the city to other city. Unfortunately, I could not purchase the ticket. I reached late, and the train was coming from the other city, and I boarded the train, and I was very much worried what is going to happen, because in India, I know that if we board the train from Mathura and the train is coming from Mumbai and going to Delhi, they will charge from Mumbai to Delhi if they will catch me without the ticket. But there I was shocked when the girl TT came, and she said, "Yes, your ticket." I said, "Sorry, I could not purchase the ticket. But I boarded from here. But if you want, you can charge from wherever." She says, "Why? When you have boarded from this city, why should I charge from the other city? You are saying it is right." And I was shocked, to be very frank, because this type of behavior I never expected in a foreign country. Here we are saying that I have boarded from Mathura, I have no luggage, I am just going to Delhi. Well, no, you have to pay from. So these are the things which are required. I don't know now it has been required, they changed or not reforms, but we would like to know from you your views about the administrative reforms in India. Mr. Sandeep Silas, please.
Namaskar, Mr. Goel and my co-panelists. I am really delighted to be on your show. And I must compliment you for having chosen a very, very relevant topic, which will be relevant always. Because I feel that any democracy which wants to remain public-centric and essentially democratic has to constantly evaluate and reform the processes. And to begin with, I am, reminded of what the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, once said, quote, "Whenever you have to take a decision, think of the man on the street and how it is going to affect him. Then take your decision," unquote. So, see, the whole why and wherefore and of the administrative reforms is summed up in this short phrase of the Mahatma, and that is why he's the Mahatma. However, I have listened to my previous speakers, and very eminent, all of them, and they have raised very prominent questions and solutions also. I have a very different approach towards this topic, and I will focus on the why, the how, and the possible solutions in the sectors in which I have worked with and have gathered a little knowledge. See, administrative reforms is not just the preserve of the bureaucracy, it's a three-way process. The political government of the day, whichever party wins a majority and forms the government, that is the government of the day in a democratic system. So the primary responsibility of administrative reforms falls upon the shoulders of the political government. Next, it comes upon the bureaucracy, which is the steel frame of the country and responsible for the implementation of all the reforms. And the third, but the most important, which Dr. Naveen Gupta has mentioned, is the public itself, the people themselves. It is the people who are the harbingers of change. It is in their hands to reform any system. They have all the knowledge at the ground level, at the grassroots levels. They interact on the street level and know what is happening, what is not happening. And it is they who can really bring about the change, who motivate the change, force the change. Now, I was thinking, I spoke to you earlier also, why these reforms are required. Two things came to my mind. One is ease of living of the public. If I have an easy life with my job, with my bill payments, with my travel, with my dreams, with my education, with my goals, I'm a happier citizen. And there are many nations, I'm just digressing, that who are measuring the happiness index of the public to come about to see, I mean, how the government and the is putting about their reforms. The second is ease of doing business. Now, Mr. Preetham Singh, my batchmate and friend, will bear me out. I mean, how many states have said that we have a single window system if you want to set up a business? But how many clearances are required? How much regulation is there? How many licenses you have to acquire? How many inspectors from so many departments swoop down upon a business to not only have their cut, but also to tell them that they are relevant. One businessman came to me in one of my tenures and told me that, Sandeepji, I have 16 inspectors from different departments coming to me. And this monthly and Holy Diwali as well. So I was so surprised, you know. So anyhow, well, after this, how the government should measure, or the bureaucracy or the people should measure it, the scales are ease of living and ease of doing business. Now, how? The how of it, you know, how do you do the bring about the administrative reforms? First of all, you have to involve the public. The reforms are not just because I am sitting in the government or I am the political boss or the master of the government. The reforms are required because they are required by the people themselves. And we do have in the government a very good system when we formulate policy, that we have stakeholder meetings. We involve the people at the grassroots levels, the MLAs, the MPs, and the business organizations like the SOCHAM, FICCI, and CII, and they all come. And last also, we involve the UN organizations which are working in that sector to evolve a policy paper. So that is all happening. The Planning Commission has been changed and has been reformed itself. But where we are failing is the implementation. One of the meetings I was taking once in Gulbarga, and the collector there told me that, sir, I have got 200 schemes to monitor. Where do I have the time? Because he's also going monitoring the Mahatma Gandhi Narega scheme. He's also doing the tourism. He's also doing the house making, house building schemes and everything. See, the collector, you must appreciate, is a man who is who has a lot of burden upon the city, of the city upon his shoulders. And though the academies, Masuri and the other training centers, and we both have been, we've gone for a leadership courses at Maxwell and administrative reforms and at planning process, public affairs at Maxwell. But we see that, I mean, the country is trying to do its best, but still we are such a vast majority that whatever reforms we do, it falls short of the expectations of the public. Anyway, so now I was thinking, see, leadership, Mr. Dr. Naveen mentioned, yes, leadership is very important, and systemic leadership, I would add to it. Because unless and until we have a systemic leadership, we cannot put the reforms in place. Secondly, we must follow a systems and processes approach rather than ad hoc approaches. Because ad hoc approaches will always be firefighting. आज यहाँ आग लगी है, फायर ब्रिगेड लगाओ, आग बुझ जाएगी, ठीक हो जाएगा. दिल्ली में आमतौर पे आप देखेंगे झुग्गी झोंपड़ी की कॉलोनी जलती हैं, जलाई जाती हैं, ये सोचने की बात है, but whatever. Then when we think of the public, we have to develop their self potential. The new generation is today looking at a scenario, what to do? Where are the jobs? Now, I always say, because I used to tell, I worked with so many ministers, I used to tell them, sir, why do we have to focus upon job creation? Why don't we focus on employment generation? There's two different things. You make a man competent and he has a job by himself. He is contributing to your GDP. But if you make him think of only that I must have a job and I must have a salary, probably, I mean, we are seeing two failures. One, that he'll never get it, and then he'll be disheartened. So we have to think of employment generation rather than job creation. Job creation is necessary. Yes, it is necessary. But the latter is more important. Then bridging the development gaps. If you go to Nagaland and if you go to the northeastern states and some remote corners of Orissa, you will realize that development has really not touched them. They're living in a very different world and they're happy about it, fine. But then where is the identification? How are we distributing the butter upon the bread? We have to distribute it evenly. We cannot say that my batchmate and friend Preetham said that, you vote for me, I'll give you freebies. No, this is not going to happen, because you have to think, when you think at a national level, you have to think of every citizen of the country deserving his piece of bread and butter. I was once talking to an ambassador of a foreign country, and I asked him a very innocent question. I said, sir, Excellency, what strikes you most when you come to India the first time? And his response was so quick. He said, income disparity. And you see, if you go out on the street and see the situation, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. No, I would not like to say more on this. I'll come on to the next level, as that I feel that, all our reforms have to ensure a minimum standard of living for all our people. We have to develop social security systems. See, so many people, because of their job in the old pension scheme, they get a pension. Of course, the Supreme Court did define them as not pension, but deferred wages, because we get paid less. Preetham Singh will bear me out. We get paid really less. So I don't think it's pension, it's deferred wages, but the social security system has to be implemented for all our citizens, whether they are rickshaw pullers or whether coolies or they are porters, whether labor, they are shopkeepers. See, they have nothing to, if they don't save, or if they don't have any faith upon the next generation which they have born as children, they are gone. E-governance tools reduce the interaction of the frontline government functionary with the public. That is the best way of reducing corruption, because once you reduce the frontline interaction, you have given him a lot of ease of living and ease of doing business. Now, what are the sectors? See, police. Why can't we put video recordings in a police station for FIR? Our eminent batchmate and friend, my college friend also, Rakesh Asthana, who's now in charge of Delhi, the capital of India, as a police commissioner, he is going ahead with bringing reforms in the police in Delhi by putting in cameras all over, high resolution cameras all over the city. And I was speaking to him yesterday. I said, I wish you real luck, because you can make a difference to the capital of India. And the second point is getting Delhi notified as a safe city for women. So, I mean, this model, I mean, we have very, very good bureaucrats and very committed bureaucrats to the public welfare, to public systems. They are creating models. These models have to be followed and implemented as best approaches across the country. And that is how the reforms will reach the public everywhere. Now, there is a lot of brutalization in the police constabulary when they interact with the public. The brutalization is there in their mind. We see sometimes very, very horrific pictures. Now, why can't we have like the railways one, this is the customer care training. We opened an institute for all our frontline staff, that how do you interact with customers? So we have to have that with the police constabulary also, that how do you interact with the public? Yeah, we've gone abroad and we see everywhere that if anybody has to approach you, any public functionary as a police constable or even anybody, they will first say, "Good morning, sir. Would you kindly pull over? Sir, you were speeding. I have a ticket for you." Now he's put the same ticket as this, but see the difference of approach. That is the reform which we seek. Land revenue reforms. Many districts have already computerized their land revenue records, because to date, but still the Patwari is a very, very powerful and a person whom the agriculturists and the people who buy and sell land fear. But we have to get that fear out of the system of the public. So then see, transportation. If I work in the transportation sector as well, only two things come to my mind. If you go to any city, how many people are happy with the horn? They are happy honking. If you, I went to Mathura once, I was going to a temple and the whole way to the temple was full of so much of noise and horns blaring. People are happy just putting their fingers and riding. Why? We have to ban it because this is noise. We are filling our minds and our bodies and our souls and our lives with unnecessary noise. And that is a philosophical statement as well, not a just reform. Secondly, labor. Labor is an area I was once, I worked 4 years in labor ministry. Labor ministry is governed by 44 acts of the parliament. And I was surprised. I had so many acts, which our officers, enforcement officers are implementing. So I said, sir, why can't we have just one umbrella legislation? So now I'm hinting upon the process of parliamentary reforms of acts. We have to go one by one in every ministry, see how antiquated the laws are. What were the purpose of the laws? What they are leading to, whether they are simplifying our lives or complicating our lives. And then if we have to bring in those parliamentary reforms by changing the acts or reducing them. Taxation. I still have to ask my CA to do my tax form because I'm incapable. I feel so difficult what to do. So I don't know. I mean, that area is there. It's a gray area, and it's a very big area. And of course, the percentages of tax as compared to foreign countries, we must always compare. We must always compare with what our transitional countries are doing and what our more developed countries are doing. We must always compare their systems with ours. If we have to, then village. See, I come from a village called Sikandra in Agra. My major years, first years, say 20, 22 years, I spent there in a village environment. Of course, we had a campus, but the village was within us. Now, I go back to this village and to so many villages in so many states all over the country. And what do I find? कुछ पक्के मकान बन गए, कुछ दुकानें अच्छी हो गई, लोगों ने कुछ कहीं के बच्चे डेंटिस्ट बन गए, किसी के कुछ. But the lifestyle, the open drains, the pathways, everything is the same. Now, that is the reason why people from the villages come for a Mumbai dream. That is their apple. And they flock to the cities, create a whole lot of population burden upon the city, upon the sewerage, upon the road transport, upon the businesses, upon the housing, and therefore the slums develop. Therefore, the many people are not able to give their best to life, to living. I have an idea which says, hold them in the villages. Make the village so beautiful and attractive that you don't feel like going out. If you go to the English countryside, the land is costlier than the cities. And the villages are such beautiful places. They have every facilities. They have, and they're happy. So happy living in a village environment. They go to London, they go anywhere, but they're happy. So why can't we develop the village in such a way that we hold our people in the village? Then education, of course, has been spoken a lot, so I will not mention that. But yes, we have to change our approach from degree orientation to learning orientation. Then I would mention about judiciary. I'm not commenting, but I'm just realizing that we need reforms in the judicial sector as well Today, many people die before their case ends. So we have to have some kind of a limit that, and we have to have some kind of a process where even the poor are able to afford legal help. Because today, I mean, if you need legal help at the topmost levels, you really can't afford a High Court lawyer's fee or a Supreme Court lawyer's fee unless or until somebody is your friend and is obliging you.
Yes.
So this is, and similarly, I come to prison reforms. See, I don't know how many people are aware that there are so many murders in prisons, including in Tihar. So this is a very, it's become a very dubious game to get a person imprisoned and then murdered, and just put it all as a brawl amongst prisoners. You must also realize the fate of under trials. There are more under trials in the country than ever before, and many of them have served a term of as under trials more than the sentence could be awarded to them, for committing a crime. So, I mean, tourism, you mentioned that I worked in tourism. I'll just take 2-3 minutes. So see,
Please be brief, because the
very
time
quick,
is
very quick. So tourism, see, I go out abroad. I don't have to look for a hotel or an Airbnb. There's an iKiosk, a tourism kiosk. I go there and it has got everything according to my needs. We have to create it like that. Pollution is a serious issue in our country, the environmental pollution. I mean, we can talk endlessly, but yes, I am happy that I have been able to raise and flag a few areas and issues and point out towards possible solution. Last but not the least, the poverty alleviation. And with that, I would say thanks to you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep Silas, for giving all the details, and the reforms are required in different sectors. And I would not like to repeat, because already yes, but I will just mention few things. He mentioned about the happiness index. Yes, we are 139. The latest index called is 139 position in the world. So we can imagine, although we claim ourselves as a global leader in many fields, but happiness index, we are 139. Easiness of business, we are 63rd. And he says about the permissions. I will just give an example of, if you want to open a restaurant in Mumbai, you require 33 licenses and permissions. So one can understand what easiness of business we have. He mentioned about the tax, that when we compare the tax in USA, the tax there is more than India, etc. But see the facilities, the taxpayer is getting a piece of life, what we are getting. If we are paying tax, we are not getting anything, what they are getting, the infrastructure. And one very, very important point he has raised is that bring the all that infrastructure, develop the village, which our late President APJ Abdul Kalam has given the Pura, or Mahatma Gandhi has initially mentioned about the empowerment of the village. So thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep. You have given many points. I know that paucity of time, otherwise we would have discussed, but definitely we'll keep some other media conference where we would like to take one by one the things, because there are, every department is having so many things. Thank you very much. Now I would like to ask the questions, and my first question goes to Mr. Dr. Naveen Gupta. Dr. Naveen Gupta, I know that you were not that time, so you might not be, it might be a small child when the emergency was imposed, and everybody criticized emergency. I was working as a railway contractor at that time at Mathura in the railways. Before the emergency was imposed, I found the bureaucracy, the officers or the clerks or babus coming late. Instead of 10 o'clock, they used to reach to at 11 o'clock. And if they have to make a bill for me, they will say, oh, sorry, you have to bring one new pen. We cannot use the old pen, and you bring the so many packets of cigarettes and the pans, etc. Then we'll start preparing the bill. The day the emergency levied, next day when I went to the office, railway office, I found that all the officers and the babus are before the time, 9:30 they reached. And they says, Mr. Goel, your bill has to be prepared. I said, but sorry, I have not bought the pen. And well, no, we don't want anything. Take the bill. Now, my thing to you is, when you are saying mindset to be changed, education, all were the same. We were the same people before the day of emergency and after the day of emergency. The same bureaucracy, the same public. Why that this thing can change? It means, it shows that you require a proper political will to control. I'm not advocating towards the emergency, but I say you require and you mentioned about Mr. Sisodia. Mr. Sisodia, you see the condition of Delhi schools. Everybody is appreciating Delhi schools. They are appreciating Mohalla Clinic. So if the political will is strong, administrative reforms is not required. Automatically, everyone will be formed. What do you say about this, Dr. Gupta? Please unmute. Dr. Gupta, please unmute.
Very well said by you. Sir, ये बिल्कुल ठीक है कि politicians, they are also from the society. Political will is the number one. But the whole society is responsible. If I go, अगर हमने culture कैसे बनाएंगे, I would like to quote the theory of McGregor, theory X and Y of the motivation. Theory X, who says, I will just discuss as a layman, कहने का वो डंडा, और Y को मैं कहता हूँ पंडा. डंडा क्या है, कहने का कि ये एक हाइपोथेसिस ही बना लिया, एजम्पशन ही बन गया है हमारा कि लोग डंडे से, सुपरविजन से, जब तक सुपरविजन नहीं होगा लोग काम नहीं करेंगे, पनिशमेंट नहीं होगा तो काम नहीं करेंगे. एंड दैट वाज द रीजन कैरेट एंड स्टिक पॉलिसी वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड फॉर द मोटिवेशन. बट देन खुद ही वो एक्सपेरिमेंट करके बाद मैकग्रीगर को लगा कि नहीं, देयर आर पीपल लाइक संदीप जी, प्रीतम जी, लाल सर, दे वांट टू डू समथिंग. इफ देयर विल बी स्ट्रिक्ट सुपरविजन like me, my performance will go down. Over a period of time, there's something wrong in our culture कि हमने वो सीख लिया है कि डंडा अगर होगा, emergency में एक temporary डंडा को introduce किया गया, and there was an impact. पर मुझे अगर लगता है कि अगर वो emergency थोड़ा लंबा चल जाती तो लोग उसके भी used to हो जाते. बहुत सारे आरटीआई का आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया, प्रीतम सिंह जी ने बहुत सारे चेंजेस किए, संदीप जी ने अपने लेवल पे इनिशिएट किए, लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी जो उसका क्या काउंटर स्ट्रेटजी लोग बना सकते हैं, दे कुड फाइंड आउट. तो अभी हमारा जो है, वी नीड ए चेंज इन कल्चर. यू मेंशन वेरी वेल अबाउट द एपीजे कलाम साहब. कहना उनका जो कहना था, very rightly said, only 3 people can change and make any change in this country, or especially regarding the corruption. और वो कौन लोग हैं? उसने कहा MFT, mother, father and teacher. तो एक बहुत ही फंडामेंटल काम करने की जरूरत है सर. आपने बहुत बढ़िया यूरोपियन कंट्रीज का एग्जाम्पल दिया. वो कहीं ना कहीं से नेशनल कैरेक्टर हमारा मिसिंग हो गया. किसको जिम्मेदार कहें, कहानी कहें. बस एक बात से मैं एंड करना चाहता हूं. अब संदीप जी हैं, प्रीतम सिंह जी है, वी हैव गॉट अ लॉन्ग एक्सपीरियंस, पर दिस इज द टाइम टू गिव टू द सोसाइटी. टूरिज्म का आपने मेंशन किया, मथुरा पे मैंने काम शुरू कर दिया है, ऑटो ड्राइवर्स को ट्रेनिंग दे रहा हूं. मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं, आई एम ब्लेस्ड कि आई एम वर्किंग इन ए ब्रज भूमि. वहां मेरा एक इनिशिएट करने का है. एक मदन मिश्रा जी कल्चर सेक्रेटरी, उनसे भी बात हुई है, ही वाज हाईली इम्प्रेस्ड. इनको थोड़ा सिविलाइज कर सके. जो पंडा वाली थ्योरी है, पंडा मतलब पार्टिसिपेटिव मैनेजमेंट की, एजुकेशन की, नो यू हैव सेट, उनको पता ही नहीं है. इसको तो लग रहा है कि दबाओ दबाओ लोग हटेंगे, और उसका इम्पैक्ट आई कुड सी. दो इट वाज ए गलेरी प्रयास था मैंने आगरा में किया टूरिज्म पे, लेकिन यस आई एम सेटिस्फाइड कि देयर आर रिजल्ट्स. वो डंडा नहीं कर पाए.
Okay.
डंडा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के पास है सर. टीचर हम लोग ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, अगर ज्वाइन करके इफ वी कैन वर्क टुगेदर, तो सर संदीप जी, आई विल रिक्वेस्ट यू, बिकॉज यू बिलोंग टू आगरा, आप यू हैव सर्टेन रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज एंड देन यू आर सोशल सेंसिटिव आल्सो. पुलिस रिफॉर्म में बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल असीम अरुण जी थे यहाँ पर आईजी, उन्होंने मेरे पास 200 फीमेल कांस्टेबल भेजी. नवीन, कैन यू ट्रेन देम? एंड देन आई गॉट अ वेरी, वो जो यहाँ पर चलता है राम लीला का था, इतना बढ़िया फीडबैक आया, हाउ दे रिसीव, हाउ दे वर्क. तो इस तरह के काम अगर किया जा सकता है तो आई थिंक.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Gupta. And the police, what Mr. Sandeep was mentioning, or that we have a set that their mindset. One of our earlier program, I think Dr. Gupta was there in that program, where we have this police reform in India, one of the DG, she told that our country in India, the worst part is that the child always was told, drink the milk, otherwise वो पुलिस वाले अंकल आके पकड़ ले जाएंगे. So we put this mentality from the childhood in the society about the bad image about the police. Anyway, thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mr. Pritam Singh. My question to you is, power corrupt and absolute power corrupt? Absolutely. We have seen the IAS officers who just come out from the Masuri Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy. Once they reach to the thing, initially, yes, you have to work with the Patwari and then Tehsildar, then you become the ADM or SDM and whatnot. But that power, I'm not saying for everyone, but that power initially, if the officers are having, and then they have the gap or the distance between the public and themselves, don't you think that have mindset of the officer, the bureaucracy? I'm not only saying about IAS, IPS or IFS or even the railway pupil or whosoever in the bureaucracy. If we will change that thing, that yes, you have a power, but please use the power for the benefit of the public, not for the benefit of the political leadership or for yourself. What do you say about this, Mr. Pritam Singh?
Yeah, this I fully agree that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'll start with the example which you gave about emergency. Emergency was good if it was limited to the public servants. I mean, you could have a limited emergency that you should come on time and deliver and don't be corrupt, don't ask for this favor or that favor. But if you have used emergency because you had power to impose emergency, that means you are, and then there were side effects, and they lost. People were not ready for that. And so the whether emergency was good, even in that case, it couldn't serve the purpose because it ended and the people showed the door to the then government. This is one. But I tell you how power corrupts. The laws which we are making and the rules, like Sandeep said, 40 laws or 40 odd laws for labor and this and that. So they give you a tool to misuse. These are, emergency was a double-edged tool. It helped offices run on time, trains run on time, but it was misused, and this type of power gets misused in the long run. Putin was democratically elected, or maybe his predecessors were. When Marxism started, they were democratically elected. Okay. We have seen democracies turning into dictatorship because of power, Yes. Then you start changing the constitutions, changing the narrative and changing things. So power should be with the people. How it can be retained by the people, this has to be evolved. I think I cannot say one line solution how people can be empowered. Education is one, other things are one, but if you keep them taking their jobs away and then giving them doles, then you are certainly making them dependent on you. Okay. I am told about if I have some time.
Time, paucity of time.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Sorry, because the time is very short. Otherwise, I would have next to definitely. Now, my last question goes to Mr. Sandeep Salas. Mr. Sandeep Salas, there is a lateral entry in IAS. Now, the things which the government has introduced. Do you think it will reform the administratives drastically, or it will be nothing, but it is going to create more problems? Somebody whosoever is close to the ruling dispense will be the ruling the administration instead of what bureaucracy was doing. What do you say about this? 1 minute only. Time is very short.
That's a very, very, very pointed question. See, there is a process of selection of the bureaucracy through the Union Public Service Commission, and a very, very detailed process of training, not only in the academies, at the field levels with military attachment, parliamentary attachment, and so many things. So bringing somebody without all that experience and exposure and fixing him at a certain level is only, I feel, going to create problems than solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So viewers, you have seen today the experts, former IAS officers and a management group, they have given their views. We always criticize the administration, but we as a civil society, have we ever seen, gone in the details how they are working? What are their working hours? We quibble if we work more than 8 hours. That these officers are working almost 24 hours. Earlier, it might be that they have the liberty, but today, because of the political leadership, all the districts are having a district minister. Earlier, the district magistrate used to be the having absolute power for the district. Now one district minister is always there, and he's visiting almost every week with his family, with all the things, and enjoying. Now, this is where the administrative reforms, why we are talking of administrative reforms, we have to reform the political leadership. If these politicians are reformed, then with this bureaucracy is ready to work, but their hands are tied up. They have to work, they have to attend. If some minister is coming, they have to receive at the airport, then see to that the entire programs has to be done. What the officer can do, and as one of the panelists says, he's in charge of so many things. It's how he can do it, and that he cannot delegate because he has to sign personally. That is the change. Yes, that few changes are required, but main thing is the administration. If we require reforms, the political leadership has to be changed and the civil society has to be changed. If we will give the respect to them, if we will not go for undue favors with them, then definitely the bureaucracy can do. An Indian bureaucracy, in my personal opinion, is one of the best bureaucracy in the world. So thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, as well as shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you everyday new topic from Media Conference with Lal Goel. And tomorrow, as you all know, that tomorrow is a Holi, and Holi is a festival of Braj. Braj ki Holi. So the topic is Braj ki Holi, and tomorrow my panelists are Padam Shri Mohan Sarup Bhatia, is the renowned journalist, is the Secretary Gyan Deep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. Dr. Mukesh Sharma is the former Director General of Films Division of India and also the former Additional Director General of Doordarshan, Ministry of Information Broadcasting, Government of India. Ms. Urvashi Mittal, District Secretary, Inner Wheel 301, New Delhi. Mr. Pratul Agrawal is the founder promoter of Alanka Group, Mathura, and Ms. Parul Jindal is the director of Narayani International School, the member of Advisory Forum, Aligarh Smart City, Aligarh. So please tune in tomorrow for Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Mr. Preetam Singh. Thank you very much, Mr. Sandeep Silas. And thank you very much, Dr. Naveen Gupta, for joining and giving very, very enlightening views. And I'm sure all the time is very short. I'm very really sorry because it's a live telecast, but definitely we can take up them one by one because it's a daily program. I will definitely take one by one subject, and the way you have raised and you have enlightened people. And thank you very much, all the viewers. I'm sure today you are enlightened. Please change your approach for the bureaucracy. They are very good. They are working day and night to improve ourselves. But it is up to us. If we are electing a government, if they are not doing the performance, how the bureaucracy can work. Thank you very much. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.